Heatmaps are a really great tool for understanding what visitors are doing on your website, whether that's where they're scrolling, what they're clicking, what they're engaging with, and for really breaking down, number one, what kinds of visitors are doing what activity, and trying to figure out how you can optimize your page's design and your messaging so that it performs better with your visitors. Now, there are two kinds of heat maps available on Crazy Egg. There's instant heat maps, which if you go to Web Analytics and then click the fire icon alongside any of these pages there, you can access free. And these are automatically created for every page that's tracked on Crazy Egg. The downside is that they're very limited. So they only track a sample of traffic, and they only track activity from the last 30 days. But if you want to go into a lot more detail and get a lot more analytics, then you need to go and create a heat map report. Now, heat map reports are the main thing that's available on Crazy Egg's paid plans, and basically on Crazy Egg's plans, one of the main things we charge for is how many page views you track with heat maps or A/B testing. And if you want to see how much of your monthly capacity on your plan is still available, you can scroll down at the bottom left here and see the percentage of tracked page views used. You can also do that by going to the options page and then looking at your plan details. Now, when I want to go to create a new heat map, I can go and click that create heat map option there. I can create a heat map for a single page and then decide which devices I want to track. I can decide if I want to create a new heat map every month, for example. I can schedule them to be created in the future. I can decide how long I want them to track for, or differently, how many page views I want them to track. And I can set them to be recurring. So, for example, if I want to create a new heat map every month, I can do that here. I can have additional options here as well, like omitting pop-ups, or maybe you do want to track pop-ups. Automatically, by default, heat maps track 100% of traffic as opposed to sampling. But if you do want to sample, mostly because you want to make more efficient use of your plan capacity, then you can choose that here as well. And you have multiple options for tracking multiple pages within the same heat map, which often happens if you have a templated page where you want to combine so you can get more data in the same heat map. You can do that either by tracking the heat maps multiple pages, or you can do that by using the advanced tracking options here to do this with a wildcard, with a regular expression, things like that. You can also track pages behind a login, which is going to be great for, say, web apps, for example. But in order to do that, you're going to need to use the Page Camera Chrome extension, and that way it will take a screenshot of your page, and that way you can get a heat map without having to, figure out the login, basically. Now, once I've created the heat map, and I'm going to exit out of this right here. Once I've created a heat map, then I can jump into any particular heat map here. Now I have multiple types of heat maps available, so I don't just have a regular heat map which shows click activity here. I have scroll activity, which I can show either with a typical scroll map or with a toggle right here in the bottom. I also have additional views, like, say, this confetti map, which shows additional clicks individually. I can get a list, which is basically going to crawl your entire page as HTML and give you the specific list of elements with the kind of clicks by type. More importantly, we also include filters. So I can click the filters here, and I can filter to specifically look at traffic by, the traffic source, referrer, by specifically rage clicks or dead clicks, new versus returning, the country, device type, even things like UTM parameters or custom variables as well. I can also filter by conversion status. So if I've set up conversions, like say I want to see people who specifically became a lead, people who signed up, people who added to cart, I can filter the activity by people who did convert and see which content drove them to convert, or conversely look at people who didn't convert and see what content they're engaging with that maybe we want to see more of in order to drive them to actually convert. So additionally here, I can get metrics on the page load, on rage clicks and dead clicks. I can get AI analysis, which will give me a few recommendations in plain language of what I can learn from the page. I can change the date range I'm looking at. I can share this heat map using a link with people who are not Crazy Egg users with a login. I can compare heat maps, which is great if I have multiple A/B testing variants, for example, and you can automatically create heat maps for every single variant in an A/B test on Crazy Egg. And you can even export these. Now, I can export any of these heat maps as files, whether they're a heat map, a scroll map. I can export that list map in a CSV so I can analyze it in a spreadsheet. But I can also export this in an AI-compatible JSON file, which means we take the data and we've formatted in a way that the LLM can really get into the segmentation and figure out what's going on as well as what's driving conversions. I can download that to my computer so I have access to the data, and I can use it in any AI model I want. So if I go to ChatGPT now and I look at an old analysis here, you can see an example right here.